All right, so Ravi, it's good to see you again.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Hello from Hanover. We're here with Ravi from HiveMQ. So Ravi, a couple of insights, what you've seen so far at Hanover?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as everybody knows, HiveMQ is an MQTT-based software broker, right? So we connect OT systems to IT systems. So we are here demonstrating our product. One of the things that we have done is we have a whole factory set up, and we are basically saying how the different components, like in a process automation setup, right? How the different components interact with each other, and how all that data can be consolidated using a broker, and then shared with the PLC, which can ultimately then make a determination, right? So it's a practical example of how a factory system has so much information silos that can be easily consolidated using a broker, right? So that's what we are demonstrating. We see a lot of the same theme across the board, right? So for example, AWS is a huge booth, as always, right? And they have a lot of partners coming there and talking about different aspects of how they help with the whole manufacturing ecosystem. If you see that architecture, it has 30 plus vendors there, right? So it's very clear that no one vendor or no one solution can solve this big puzzle of manufacturing, right? So it has to be a combination of all of these coming together, and that's a constant theme that we see. One of the things that struck me is when I went to the Microsoft booth, the first thing I saw was a robot, right? Microsoft and robot is it doesn't really gel, but then the fact is that a robotics manufacturer needs to work with an AR, VR tool to be able to do remote monitoring and things like that, and that's where technology is today. It's kind of an amalgamation of all of these different technologies and companies coming together. So that's what we see more of.
Thank you for this insight. So now let's double click a little bit on the broker part, and particularly on the MQTT Sparkplug, and where do you see it improving or enabling efficiencies in manufacturing, or perhaps in the example again, process automation?
Right. So MQTT, as you know, is a protocol. It's an open source protocol, right? It started in the late 90s. It was started by two folks from IBM, specifically for oil and gas use cases. Remote oil wells where the connectivity is not great, right? It's it's choppy at best, the bandwidth is low. How do you still get the data into a centralized location in spite of all these impediments, right? So that's where MQTT was born. And that naturally progressed to other aspects of manufacturing, because guess what? A factory floor is also facing the same issues, right? So it naturally went into that. Now, one of the things about MQTT is that it doesn't have topic name structures. It leaves a lot of things that you can interpret, and you can do things yourself, right? Whereas in manufacturing, a lot of things needs to be structured, right? You need to have a topic namespace, you need to have a specific data model, because your manufacturing subsystems that's how they're designed, right? So Sparkplug adds some of these things that are very, very manufacturing specific, and it makes it more important or useful for manufacturing use cases on top of MQTT, right? So that's what Sparkplug is all about, right? It's all about having that single source of truth. It's all about a birth and death of a subsystem. For example, if I'm introducing a new subsystem within manufacturing, if you have a digital twin, for example, on the cloud, that digital twin needs to know that this new subsystem is born so that they can update the twin, right? So that's what Sparkplug enables. It enables the information sharing and ensuring that it is all there for you to make the best determination and the best use of your system to be able to do all AI, ML, and all the other use cases. So,
all right. Thank you for that. Maybe just back up just a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the, how have you seen this change over the last couple of years since we've been involved with this?
No, absolutely.
Just a brief summary there.
No, absolutely. So obviously we're not the only rodeo when it comes to MQTT brokers or data connectors and things like that. There's a lot of people out there. In fact, if you want to start off on your MQTT journey, a lot of people start on using Mosquito, right? Which is obviously an open source. It's very, very famous. It's easy to use. There's our friends from Citadel that are here that have taken Mosquito and built a solution on top of that. And so one of the things that separates us, for example, from an open source is that an open source is great if you want to just start off on this journey, if you have limited number of connections, limited bandwidth use cases, you don't have any high availability needs and things like that, that's great. So for a POC, starting off on the IoT journey is great. But then the moment you want to scale up beyond that, that's kind of where an enterprise broker like MQTT, also HiveMQ comes in, right? Because we are all about scalability. Recently, we benchmarked scalability for 200 million connections, concurrent connections, right? Now, that's an extreme use case. In factories, you won't have 200 million connections, right? But it's anywhere between 0 and 200, right? You can be anywhere in this journey and still use our solution and still be able to do that. Now, you can do this with high availability. That's important, right? Imagine you have say not millions, but hundreds of connections. connected to like your factory system, and then you are using all that data to make some determination about like maybe a digital twin or remote monitoring and things like that, and something breaks, right? You want to bring that connection back up again so that the data is up to date. That's what a high availability platform or an enterprise grade broker does for you. It ensures that your data is available at a high rate, highly reliable, and it's available when you need it. So that's where we come into the picture.
Ravi, thank you for the insights.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure as always, and enjoy the rest of the show, guys.
Thank you.